Spider-Man Brand New Day is well on its way to swinging into theaters, and Tom Holland has already suited up. The last time we saw Spidey, he was sharing the screen with his predecessors, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, in Spider-Man No Way Home.
I love you guys.
And that got me thinking, who is the best Spider-Man? All of them. Or none of them. Or they're all awesome in their own way.
Peter! Yeah?
Today, we're gonna break down each actor's portrayal of the webhead in their own respective films, and how Spider-Man No Way Home reopened the book of possibilities for more Spider-Man crossovers. So we're gonna start by going all the way back to the beginning of Spider-Man in cinema, if you don't count those 70s Japanese movies. Let's take a look at the godfather of Peter Parkers, Tobey Maguire.
I'm Peter Parker. I'm a photographer.
Tobey was cast as Peter Parker in Sam Raimi's highly coveted and much beloved Spider-Man trilogy, which was actually planned as 4 movies until Sam Raimi's 4th movie got canceled in like 2009. In these movies, Peter starts as a mumbling, dorky, unlucky, and unpowered high school student. And for this video, we'll be referring to this as the pre-powered Peter Parker part, so say that 5 times fast. No, say it, I'll wait. Tobey plays this role with a soft but golden age-esque approach. The thing about this version of Peter Parker is that he doesn't feel like he fits in or matches the world around him. And this is intentional. These movies were made with a style and tone that we had never seen in a modern comic book movie. I need to mention though that Tobey Maguire is clearly a man in his mid-20s playing a high school teenager, but I really can't harp on it too much, seeing as most of the people in this movie play people that are significantly younger than they really are. Like Joe Manganiello played Flash Thompson, the high school bully. Look at this man. He might have been like older than me when he made this. Tobey Maguire's casting was an interesting choice that almost didn't happen, but it's clear that getting this role meant that he needed to differentiate himself from the likes of Freddie Prinze Jr. and Leonardo DiCaprio. And he did this by dialing the charm all the way down and the awkwardness all the way up. Tobey Maguire had this to say about playing Peter Parker.
I think the character is a very relatable character. He gets picked on by the bully. He doesn't know how to share himself with the girl that he has great affection for. You know, these are all very relatable things. It's not just good versus evil. You know, he's a complicated character with different aspects, and he's struggling to find his way, as most human beings are. So I feel he's rooted in a reality and an honesty that I appreciate in filmmaking. I really like movies where the character has true dimension and feels like a real human being to me.
Now, Peter's arc throughout this trilogy is robust. In the first film, he gets the spider bite, Uncle Ben dies, and Tobey cries very painfully and very realistically.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
And then we get out of the pre-powered Peter Parker part and into what we'll call for this video, Spider-Man.
Who is Spider-Man?
Tobey delivers on playing a misguided but ultimately morally sound kid with great power, while blending in a showy and slightly campy confidence as Spider-Man that adds a unique layer to this specific version of the character. What I mean is that this is the only performance in this lineup of actors where Peter Parker feels distinctly different from Spider-Man. Tobey's performance adds a duality between the insecure and meek Peter and the strong and attention-grabbing Spider-Man. And this continues throughout Spider-Man 2, which, in my opinion, is the best one in the trilogy, and it dials up the rage and angst in Peter while giving Spider-Man even more experience and charisma.
It rides up in the crotch a little bit, too.
Maguire was almost replaced by Jake Gyllenhaal for this movie after a slight payment dispute with Sony and injuring his back on the set of Seabiscuit.
Oh, my back!
And I obviously see how these two actors look alike. I mean, they literally played brothers in the movie Brothers. But to me, neither actor really looks like my Spider-Man, you know? That's like my one thing with Tobey, is that when I look at him and I look at his face, I just don't see Peter Parker or Spider-Man. At least not like I do with the other two actors in this lineup.
I'm fine.
And I would say that this is the movie where Tobey shines the most as this character. I mean, for proof, you can just look at how the Peter and MJ stuff is almost as entertaining as the Spider-Man and Doc Ock stuff. There's gravitas in it. The character's arc hits peaks and valleys when Peter wavers between hanging up the mantle as Spider-Man and needing the strength of Spider-Man more than ever. And the conflict of this movie ultimately gets resolved by Tobey, or Peter Parker, using his humanity as Peter Parker and not his strength or brute force as Spider-Man. It really is so good. It's like peak Tobey Maguire.
To do what's right, we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most.
In the third movie, we crank it all the way up again. More rage, more emotional war, more villains.
Where do all these guys come from?
Let me just say, I know that I have heavily criticized this movie in the past, but Tobey Maguire is not the problem with Spider-Man 3. I know that this is what we're gonna think about when we think about Spider-Man 3, but the truth is that that's as much the writing, the directing, and the choices made in post-production as it is the acting. We've heard it all by now, but this whole thing is meant to highlight how far gone Peter is and how delusional he's become. He thinks that this is what cool is, so we're supposed to cringe and be embarrassed for him. And let me tell you, it works every time.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
And for my money, any actor who could behave like this on a completely open set has dedication on levels no one's ever seen. And of course, Spider-Man No Way Home sees Tobey once again, and this time his arc is fully completed, with him now being a wise elder Spider-Man, who has 25 years of experience and has learned the true meaning of his uncle's famous words: "With great power comes great responsibility."
With great power comes great responsibility.
Tobey played a wide spectrum that ranged from sadness to downright goofy, which I think gave us a nice, dynamic, and well-rounded Peter Parker and Spider-Man. But what about the recent renaissance of Andrew Garfield?
I was gonna say I work here, but it seems like you in fact do work here, so you know that I don't in fact work here.
I would say that this is our most relatable Spider-Man. And I'm not saying that as a testament to the movies or the writing, but solely based on Andrew Garfield's performance. Garfield is a massive Spider-Man fan who had a huge emotional connection to playing this role, and I think that that really shined through in the liberties he went to play this character.
Just a normal guy.
His pre-powered Peter Parker part is different from Tobey's in a big way. Andrew Garfield feels more like he does fit in with the rest of the world around him. This is a tried and true teenage performance from an actor who was damn near the same age as Tobey when he did it. But in this case, Garfield played Peter as a sarcastic, uninterested, and almost unknowable kid. He's not sweet, you know, he's just like a regular kid.
Sure.
In a callback to what I said about Tobey having duality in the role, Garfield has much less of that. His Peter starts off angry and doesn't necessarily even get along with his aunt and uncle. And his portrayal of Spider-Man certainly starts off more mean, which is why I would have loved to see what he did with a symbiote suit. I think that performance could have been worth a lot.
I stopped pulling my punches. I got rageful. I got bitter.
But his attitude doesn't change when he gets the spider bite and becomes the web-slinger. This Spider-Man is much less heroic in his early stages, and it takes Peter a while to really learn what it's all about.
When you first wear it, it's like, oh, okay, here we are. This is, I better savor this moment, and it is a surreal thing when you see yourself embodying something that's meant so much to you. But there is a really interesting thing about it because it doesn't belong to you. Like you very, very quickly realize that it's not you. It isn't you in the suit. It's just you doing your job. You know, it's not it's actually nothing to do with you. It's the suit is what people love, and whatever body is in that suit doesn't really matter. That's what I find so wonderful about this character, is that he is everyone's, and he is everyone.
Garfield's performance in The Amazing Spider-Man certainly feels more spider-like. Garfield's Spider-Man portrayal originally feels more mean and spooky than Tobey's ever did. The way Garfield moves and his lankier body type really capture a sort of live-action Todd McFarlane Spider-Man. But I do think Tobey had better quips and awkward humor though.
Thank you.
Don't get me wrong, Andrew Garfield definitely plays awkward very well, but when Tobey did it, I was laughing, and when Garfield did it, I was kind of cringing. Not because it was bad, just because it was so real.
What happened to your face?
I want to tell you something.
Oh.
His arc does continue into The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but truthfully, I think most fans consider this version of Spider-Man to have an unfinished arc. And by that I mean me, I consider him to have an unfinished arc. Where Garfield really shines as the character, outside of literally looking exactly like how you would think Peter Parker would look, but the big thing is his loneliness. I'll be the first to admit that Garfield's portrayal wasn't a big jump from the pre-powered Peter Parker part to Spider-Man. He's basically the same as both characters. But like, that's the beauty of it, you know? Now, I personally like the original Ultimate Spider-Man comics from the year 2000, and this is the attitude I'm really looking for with this character. I like my Peter Parker to be going through the motions and being a teenager, while also bearing the weight of being a superhero on his young shoulders. Nobody captures the isolation and loneliness of something like that better than Andrew Garfield. It's why he seems to relate to his villains so much. It's why he seems to relate to you and me so much. And it's definitely why seeing him save MJ in No Way Home made the theater erupt.
Are you okay?
I got the warm and fuzzies. I did. I hope we see more of him in the MCU now that that book has been opened. So, you know, comment if you agree. And Tom Holland, our latest Spider-Man, and by far the most Marvelized, but also the most age-appropriate. If Tobey is our golden age OG and Andrew Garfield is our modern reimagining, Tom Holland is our tech-savvy younger brother who's like playing in a completely different field than anyone else.
I was in the Avengers. The Avengers? Yeah. That's great. Thank you. What is that?
What the MCU has done with this version of Spider-Man is forego the pre-powered Peter Parker part in favor of a, at the time of his introduction, 15-year-old kid who was already in the beta phase of his development as Spider-Man, who was introduced in Captain America: Civil War. This version of Peter definitely feels the most like a kid, but maybe the least relatable. He's like immediately inducted onto Tony's side of the team in Civil War, and then everything we get after that is post-powered Peter Parker stuff.
Tobey has done and what Andrew's done has been so fantastic in my eyes. It was difficult to me to find a new spin on the character, but the main difference is obviously that I'm much younger than those guys, so we can bring him back to high school. And one of the loveliest things about my part in this film is that you get to see how a normal kid would react around the Avengers. And because that's what Peter is, he's just like a regular kid from Queens who has been thrown into this mad world. So
Holland plays his Spider-Man as a slightly naive and optimistic kid. He's like a huge fan of the Avengers, and he has a cute boy next door demeanor that makes his youth and innocence really shine through, and it makes it interesting to see his arc by the end of No Way Home, because in many ways it feels like he gets the biggest character shift. One thing that may have been missing from previous iterations of Spider-Man is that coming-of-age aspect. Tobey gets such a great arc, but he never felt like a kid who became a man. He felt like a young and naive man who became a wise man. And Garfield felt like a teen who went from being a kid to being a young man. But Tom Holland really gets the full treatment, starting off as a literal young child and then becoming a man.
And with great power, there must also come great responsibility.
What Tom is missing from his portrayal of Peter Parker is something that fans seem to want more and more of these days: angst. We want a little saltiness in our Pedro, you know what I mean? Which I know that Holland is more than capable of, and what we're all hoping to get more of in his upcoming fourth film. A Peter that isn't protected from the harshness of the world, whether it was Tony, his Aunt May, or Doctor Strange, or even the Spider-Men. I would like to see him be forced to make mistakes that teach him something. Like where Tobey and Andrew were responsible for killing Uncle Ben's killer in some way. Like that was the moment that taught those guys what it was really all about. And since Tom Holland never really got that, you know, since Tobey stops him from killing Green Goblin in No Way Home, it just makes some of his arc feel a little bit unearned, or at least earned the easy way. And if Secret Wars is to be the movie that introduces us to a black-suited symbiote Tom Holland Spider-Man, then this movie has some groundwork to do in the way that it layers Peter's emotions. We need to see some sadness, we need to see some grit, some anger, maybe even a little bit of rage, depression. I mean, Thunderbolts did pretty well. You could probably make all of that stuff work in this movie.
You know, it's what we do. Yeah, it's what we do.
But I know that Tom Holland, like Andrew Garfield, is deeply passionate and loves this character, so I am excited and I do trust him for whatever's gonna happen in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Of course, I'm only one part of this conversation, so there's your information, and now what I want you to do is let me know in the comments who your favorite Spider-Man is. I think at the moment, obviously, I gotta go with Tobey Maguire. I mean, I grew up on those Spider-Man movies. There is such a thing as bias, it exists. But I mean it when I say that I genuinely enjoy all three actors that have played Spider-Man. You guys take it easy. easy out there, and remember, Spider-Man is a menace. Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo was created by movie fans for movie fans, and we appreciate your support.